by starting off with a welcome by your very own Naive Osenborn.
Good morning. My name is Naive Osenborn, and I am one of the lead attorneys of our Rich Township mock trial team. Welcome to Rich Township High School's inaugural Law Day. Today you will hear from judges, justices, and attorneys. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy your time. Please stand for the singing of the national anthem by Junior Anthony Kyle.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' regular air, the bombs bursting in air, take proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Naive and Anthony. Before we get started with our guest speakers, Judge Walker would like to introduce what Law Day is about. Thank you.
Morning, students. Oh, come on, y'all can do better than that. Good morning. It's a little better. My name is Judge Alvin Walker, and I'm here on behalf of the Illinois Judicial Council and its president, Bonita Coleman. And I want to thank Rich Township High School District 227, its superintendent, Dr. Thomas, Dr. Boynese, and Ms. Taylor, for putting this program together with us. I want to thank all of you for coming here today so that you can hear about what the legal professionals do, our public defender's office, and our judges, and our justices in both the appellate and the Supreme Court. Law Day is the time that we as judges and members of the Illinois Judicial Council come out to high schools to talk to students about Law Day, about how we got to where we are today, and how you, if you're interested, can do the same thing. The late Justice Pincham used to say, you can't be what you can't see. And Supreme Court Justice Neville reminded me of that this morning. And so the reason that we are standing here today is so that you can see us, and not just see us, but be us. Thank you.
You'll first hear from Public Defender, Attorney Kimberly Malone.
Good morning, scholars. My name is Kimberly Malone. I am an attorney with the Cook County Public Defender's Office, and let me say it again. I am an attorney with the Cook County Public Defender's Office. I repeat that because a lot of people do not understand that public defenders are actually attorneys. And I'll get to that more in a moment. Just a bit of background. I actually went to Bloom High School. I don't want to do no snickers. And then I went to the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, where I majored in business. Thank you. I was actually a finance major. Only people who major in finance pronounce it finance. And then I didn't like that so much, so I went into marketing. But I was in the School of Business and got my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. So basically, you can major in just about anything and go into law. I say just about anything because if you want to major in pantomime, that may not really get you any points with the admissions office in law schools. But you can major in just about anything. I know people say pre-law. I major in pre-law. I'm still trying to figure that one out. It is not like pre-med where you have to actually have certain classes required to go to medical school. Law school doesn't necessarily require that. Although there are a lot of great classes that you can take in preparation for a law school. But what I encourage students to do is actually follow your interests. If you're interested in journalism, do journalism. If you're interested in English, do English. But the bottom line is, you don't have to tie yourself into a particular major to go to law school. You can pretty much major in just about anything. So I encourage you to follow that interest that you may have. After undergrad, I got my master's in business administration, otherwise known as an MBA. And then I went to law school. My intent was to actually do intellectual property law. Who knows what that is? Okay, so intellectual property law is different from real property because it deals with property that is created. Copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets, patent law, copyright. If you write a song, you don't want anyone stealing it, so you have to have it protected so that nobody can take it and then make money off of it. A trade secret. If you want to know what the 11 herbs and spices of KFC is, that's a trade secret. All right? Trademark. Those golden arches of McDonald's is a trademark. Those things are protected. No one can use those things without compensating the various entities that own those things. That's intellectual property. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do intellectual property law. It was a beautiful union between my business background and my desire to be in the courtroom and litigate. And then I got to law school, and I took criminal procedure. I call it cop class. So class was about what happens when, from the moment someone gets arrested, and then the process of what happens as they go through the system. And our class focused a lot on violation of rights and what can happen. And then I found out, wait a minute. If I'm a criminal defense attorney, I can cross-examine cops. Oh, wait a minute, I signed up. And so I never put it down. So that is why I'm a criminal defense attorney. When I graduated John Marshall Law School, I took the bar, passed it, and then I became a public defender. So the difference between a private counsel and a public defender is we chose to go into public service instead of private practice. So how many people know what it means when someone is, quote, read their rights? Yeah, you heard it. You have the right to, come on, anything you say. What? I'm a little nervous that some of y'all know that really too well. Little nervous about that one, but I was just talking to a lot of TV. Right, a lot of TV? Okay. What's the next thing? You have the right to what? If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you. Ta-da! Yeah! That's me. Me and my office, we're the ones appointed to you if you cannot afford to hire an attorney. So that's what we do. Now, all that law and order stuff, that's only probably marginally accurate, but that's what we do. You know, we don't just go into court all the time and, hey, judge, I'm not guilty. I know we do that. Yeah, we do that. But there's a lot more to that process before. I know you all have had history class. I know you all have studied the Constitution. You know those little things called those little amendments, to the Constitution? The first 10 are personal amendments, the Bill of Rights. Remember that stuff? Yeah, you really do use that stuff outside of school. Because that's what I deal with. The Fifth Amendment, right against self-incrimination, means that you can be guilty as the day is long, but you have the right not to confess it. They cannot force you to say it. The Sixth Amendment right to counsel means that you get a right to have counsel in a criminal situation. So a lot of what we do isn't just trial. A lot of what we do is also happening beforehand and protecting The Fourth Amendment right against searches and seizures. Yeah, we do a lot of that. You know, sometimes during the process of doing our case, we are looking for things that we feel were improperly done in violation of our client's rights. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to a judge and saying, hey, judge, that confession should not be allowed because it was not freely and voluntarily given. We're going to them and saying, hey, judge, they violated my client's right. It was an illegal search. And the law says if it's an illegal search, you can't use anything from it because that's just how important those rights are. And the law will say you violate them. The severe consequence is that you can't use whatever comes out of it. So that's what I do. Well, here's the thing. You don't have to do what I do and be a lawyer. There are many lawyers who do not ever step foot in the courtroom. Some of them negotiate deals all day long. You know, $1 million deals, $1 billion deals, that's what they do. Some people do go in the courtroom, but they don't do criminal law. They actually do other types of law, personal injury, medical malpractice. I know they're not at the fine arts campus, but even if you are a STEM person, there are still areas of law that's big for you, because technology all have legal components to it. So I want you to understand, first of all, that there are many areas of law you can go into. You can major in just about anything, but just be fearless when you do. And don't be afraid to chase what you want. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit more work. People say, oh my God, law school, that's 3 more years. But here's the thing, God willing, you're going to live 3 more years anyway, right? You could even be at the end of that 3 years with a law degree without. It's up to you. So, young people, I encourage you to go for what you want. Think about what you want and let nothing stop you. Okay? I'll be around for later on questions. The next speaker will be the Honorable Judge Camille Willis.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Camille Willis. I am a retired Cook County judge. Well, who am I? I graduated from high school in 1976. Oh my goodness. There was no such thing as computers. On TV, we had channels 2, 5, 7, 9, 11, and if you were lucky, 32. What did I know about being a lawyer? What did I know about being a judge? Perry Mason. Anybody ever hear about Perry Mason? Do they show reruns of Perry Mason in black and white? You know, you barely see the people. Well, I grew up in the city of Chicago. There were 6 of us. Yes, 6 kids in my family. My mother was born and raised in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, came up to Chicago, met my father, got married. My father worked as a resource officer for the state of Illinois during the day. He worked at the post office on the docks at night to support his family. He had one goal in life for his children: be the best person you could be and help others. My family helped people all the time. My mother, of course, with 6 kids, what could she do but stay home all the time, right? Hardest job in the whole wide world. Get up in the morning, get the kids to school, next thing you know, they come home for lunch. Yes, coming home for lunch. And then they went back to school, and before you blink, they back home again. So, my parents sent me to high school. Luther South High School is now closed. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I'm a Lutheran. I've been a Lutheran throughout my entire life. I still am a Lutheran. It's different, let me tell you. But the point being is that they sent me to high school, then they said I had to go to college. I said, I don't want to go to college. Don't make me go to college. I just want to have a boyfriend. I want to get course, in November of 1958, who comes along? Me. And then I got 3 others that follow along, and then the last one, of course, for the state. You know? And that happens, right? But anyway, so there were 6 of us. I had 2 older brothers that my parents sent them to college, and they said, you got to go to college. I said, why, Mom? You didn't go to college? Why do I need to go to college? She said, because you're going to make something of your life. Well, I went to college. I can't say I was a serious student. I went to University of Illinois in Champaign. Great school, by the way. I majored in Human Resources and Family College. You ever heard of that? You have? Yeah, I'm amazed. Most people don't know what it is. It's a college of agriculture. How did I get into law school? You have to wonder, right? I have one hobby, and one hobby in life. I engage in that hobby every single day of my life. I have engaged in it when I was a child, and my father came home from work at 10:30, and you had to have lights out. I would get under my covers with my flashlight for my hobby. You want to know what my hobby was and is? Reading. Reading is the key. Reading will get you wherever you want to go. And you're blessed, because this is not 1977. This is the 2022. You can pick up your phone. Who doesn't have a phone? And you can do what? Read. You learn a lot about reading, and reading can get you anywhere. So I graduated from University of Illinois, took a year off, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I knew people going to law school. I said, well, I guess I can do that too. Again, well, how did I get into law school? Read. And I went to the Ohio State University College of Law. After I graduated from law school, what did I do? I took the Greyhound bus all over the country, interviewing for clerkships with federal court judges. And I got an offer. Guess where? Chicago, Illinois, United States 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. Judge Fairchild. I came home and had a very, very good job. The type of position that opens up doors for you. But what did I do in that job? I was reading and writing. I would read the briefs that the attorneys were filing cases, and I would draft opinions for my judge. You all heard about the recent scandal from the United States Supreme Court, right? Where the draft opinion of abortion rights came out recently, right? Who has heard about that? Is there any one person? That's similar to what I used to do. I didn't release opinions. I would draft opinions. Okay? Then after that, I went to work for the Chicago Board of Education College in their law department. I did a variety of different parents every day for what they did for me. So I ask you, how many of you like to read? Read. How many of you don't like to read? That's fine. You just have to find something that you like. What do you like to read? There's so many different things. You can read about everything. How many people like science fiction fantasy? How many of you watch Star Wars? No, if you want to watch Star Wars, you didn't watch the movies. Okay? But the point is, you can read anything. That's science fiction fantasy. You can read about history. You can read love stories. You can read whatever you want to read. It doesn't make a difference because reading helps improve your reading comprehension, your understanding, your interpretation. And reading can open up doors for you to do whatever you want to do. You may find out something that you never knew anything about. You may end up going to college and you may end up like me, majoring in human resources and family ecology, and end up going to medical school, being a doctor, because you read books about being a doctor. You don't know. Pick up books. Try different types of books. Find something that you like. And do whatever you want in your life. You are the master of your fate. You're the one that's going to decide where you want to go. And it's never too late to make that decision. How many of you have ever thought about being a lawyer? Okay. Did you know you can do anything you want to get in law school? What you're trying to do is make yourself stand out. Oh, yes, you can major in political science. Probably 50% or more of the people going to law school major in political science. Major in something else. Show that you're different. But do what? Read. Read, read, read. That's the key. Too many people just don't read. So I urge you to do that. So, that's me. That's my history. I became a judge. I did a little bit of everything. Everything. I never did criminal law. I was a civil law. I only did civil. Guess what? I started handling all types of cases. Death penalty cases, violent offenses. Worst case I ever had, young lady come home from South Suburban College. Guy robs one of these not dollar stores, but one of these, money places. I don't know what they call them. It's not a currency exchange, but, pay places, something. Anyway, so he robs one. He's going, so there's a police chase going down I-57 in police cars. He drives up the curb, gets on 170-something street, 60-something. Anyway, and he stops this woman's car. He jumps in the car, pushes her over the passenger seat, gets back in the expressway. They finally stop him at 95th and Stone. Wow, I had that case. Needless to say, I sit and wait for a long time. Come on. But that's criminal. And that is hard to do. But you have to be able to read the law, know what the law is, know what type of sentence that person can receive, and give them what is deemed to be the appropriate sentence. Everybody's not always going to agree with what you do, right? But you have to know that what you did is right. You are the master of your fate. You're young. You have the rest of your life ahead of you. You have to start to make your own decisions about where you want to go and what you want to do. And now is your time. So, please, do me one favor. Read. Is there anyone here that doesn't have one of those phones that you can do everything on? Everybody's got one, iPhone, whatever. Well, you can read books. They're called audible books. Well, those are the ones you listen to. You can listen to them too. Reading them is better, but you can also listen to them. Try it. Find something you like. Take control of your future by exposing yourself to things that help you determine what you want to do. Now, I know my robe here is sitting there, but I see I have all my fellow judges in their nice black robes. I don't need to put on a robe for you to know who I am. And now, one more thing, and I'm going to let you go, because I know I'm talking too long. And that's to tell you about community service. As a judge, yes, I heard cases, I heard felonies, I heard all kinds of cases, attorney cases, everything. But the thing I'm most proud of from when I was a judge was starting the mock trial program. How many of you know about the mock trial program? Well, we started a mock trial program in the 6th Municipal District Courthouse when I was a judge there. So many students that have been involved in the mock trial program have gone on to college, to law school, some of them joined mock trial programs in college. I'm telling you, please, please, whatever you do, take advantage of programs that are available to you. Thank you for listening to me. I love to talk, as you can tell. But please, please, please read. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Let me help explain some of the significance of what you're seeing today. 70% of the country does not have one black or brown person on its highest court. You do. That's Justice P. Scott DeVille. The significance of it is, the majority of the country, wherever they go, they do not see that. They don't see this. How many people live in Olympia Fields or been to Olympia Fields? The building, when you go there, has his name on it. That's all true. But I'm here to give you I'm the baby of the group out of the judges here. I've been on for 2.5 years. I'm here to give you all a different story from what you may hear. I never wanted to be a lawyer. I have to tell 2 different stories. My father was rich. My mother was poor. When I say poor, trailer parks, projects. I spent my school years with my father next to presidents. My godfather is Dick Gregory, some of you may or may not know, then with Jesse Jackson, then with Minister Farrakhan, then President Clinton, President Bush. But in the summers, I would spend the entire summer months with my mom in the projects, in trailer homes. Because I played basketball, that's how I ate lunch. This is before cell phones, this is before pagers. I couldn't just call my dad and say, hey, come pick me up, and he wouldn't have done it anyway. So I would eat 1 or 2 meals if I was lucky a day during the summers when I was with my mother. I have cousins who have been shot. I have cousins who have spent time in custody, cousins who are there now. I also have cousins who are doing extremely well, who are extremely wealthy. But I'm here to give you the story of no matter where you are, you can succeed. Who are the A students who are here? Do I have any A students? You can raise your hand and be proud of it. A's. Who straight A's? Straight A's and B's. Raise your hands. All right. Be proud of it. That is something to aspire for. Now, everyone not raising your hand, I was with you. I wouldn't be sitting here in high school in the front row. Those folks sitting over in the back row, that whole back row, that's where I sat. Through high school, through middle school, through elementary. Regardless of where you are, you have the ability to succeed. When I say I had straight C's, I had some that weren't C's and they weren't B's either. But I got through, I played basketball, and I did it well. Like I said, that's how I ate lunch. I played people for lunch money. Through that, I got through high school, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not quite sure I should have made it through some of those classes, but because I played sports, I did get through. I got to college, and I was inspired by the folks who were there. I went to, has anybody ever heard of Howard University? Has anybody heard of, who's the Vice President of the United States? Where did she go to college? Howard University. That is in Washington, D.C. For those who are not straight A students, B students, C students, you can get into, there are several colleges throughout the United States. Several colleges who are looking for all of you all here. For law, which is why we're here to inspire you. Who likes gaming? Who likes playing on video games? Who likes art? Who likes baking? Basketball? Football? Every single one of them has a lawyer who, on their right hand or their left hand to help guide them through the process. Law involves every single one of those. From every video game you play, there's a book of sport, there's a book of law on what to do, how to do it. For the school, for the building, this whole construction had a lawyer designing every single detail to make sure somebody gets hurt in that chair, because if they do, then the school is going to get sued, or the school district. And so there's a lawyer that involves every single aspect of whatever you can think of. I sat there from college. I went through Howard University. I worked and consulted with the FBI, securing an online and offline banking system. Went through and after working with the FBI, got a job with the EEOC, went on through college, went to Washington, D.C. to work for President Clinton. I ended up working on Capitol Hill. I wrote the legislation. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Enron, to secure the online and offline banking system. I've done a lot. But my goal, my purpose to tell each of you is that no matter where you are, no matter what you're thinking, you have the ability to succeed. You have the ability to go to law school. Does anybody here like making money? You can make money in any field that you go into. If you enjoy what you're doing, the money will come. But in law involves every single field and every single law that you can imagine. I have, after leaving the state's attorney's office, I went into private practice. I would say our bad year for private practice when I merged with our firm was low end of several million a year. For being a lawyer, it is not only financially rewarding, but I think the best thing is when I've had folks to this day come to me and sit there and tell me that I saved their lives. And that is whether or not it was a criminal case, whether or not it was a civil case, whether or not it was my interns from high school who are now lawyers or doing something else. The ability to change somebody's life is incredible, more than you can imagine. If you want to help people, if you want to make money, all of that you can do in the field of law, both at the same time or separately. For anyone here who wants to come to a courthouse, observe what happens, see what happens, or just sit down and go to lunch to find out what you need to do, your next steps. Let me know after this. I will give you my cell phone. If you want an internship, I will help you get one. I don't care if you're a C student, a D student, an A or B. I will help you. If you want to come in and just see the process, let me know. I will give you my cell phone and have you come to the courthouse or one of the courthouses and walk you through it and take you to lunch and explain what you could do, what you should do, or just help you do what you're doing. And with that, let me give an introduction to the man who has his name on the Village Hall for the Hills, Judge Lindsey Jones.
Thank you and good morning. How is everybody this morning? I hope we're giving you a little something that you can take home from this session. Again, my name is Lindsey Jones. I live out here in your communities. I live in Olympia Fields, in a beautiful home that I've lived there now for 30 years. But it started out like that. It didn't start out like that. See, I'm a product of a mixed race marriage. And when you get married, when a black man and a white woman get married, in 1950, life was pretty tough. not much of a little place. But my father, who grew up in an orphanage and became a steel worker back in the days when we had steel mills in this region, he taught me that you just have to keep fighting to overcome whatever the obstacles are out there. But he built that into me, and he didn't even become a lawyer until he was 40 years old, because he had to work very, very hard. And that's what you have to keep focusing on, working hard, looking to what your goals are going to be year after year. And it's never going to be a straight line. You know, it's interesting. You can look at whoever is the celebrity of the year, the celebrity of the month. You might think their life is great, golden, and it was a straight line to success, but it's never going to be like that. So we moved to Robbins. We lived in this little old house. My father was in the steel mill, my mother was teaching school. And they put those values in us that you have to continue to overcome. Because I wasn't a great student. I wasn't. Judge Fairman was talking about the A to B to C students. I was lucky that I was a C or a D student in high school. I just wasn't committed. And some of you may feel like you're not committed right now. You're going through the motions. Your parents say get up in the morning, go to school. Your parents get on you about getting your homework done. They're, of course, trying to push you forward to figure out what you want to be in this life, in this long life you hope to live. But I wasn't a good student in high school. I played basketball like Judge Fairman. That's what got me to create a social context for myself. But I was not a good student, but I was bright, just like all of you are bright. You have this innate intelligence that all of you have inside of you. You just have to do the work to bring it out. So I was able to graduate from high school. I did go to the high school at the University of Chicago, but I was not a good student. And think about college. What you're going to be is where you really begin to develop who you are going to college. My son, I digress for a second, but my son, he went to what was once known as Rich Central, one of your sister schools. Now it's Rich something else. What's it called? The STEM campus. But his vision for himself was as a musician. So he did not stay at that high school. He decided one summer after his freshman year that he was going to go to a performing arts school in the city of Chicago, because that was his vision for himself. And he contacted the school. And he took me down there so he could take the entrance exam. And when he finished at the top of his class, where did he go at 18 years of age? He went to New York City. Can you imagine being 18 and on your own in New York City? But that was his vision, to go to a performing arts college, and that's what he did. And you know what? You know what his very first experience was when he got to New York? In August of 2001? On September 11, 2001. What happened then? Do we remember? 9/11. There's my son, 18 years old, in New York City, all by himself, and 9/11. That's what life does. You got to keep rolling with the punches. You got to keep moving forward with what you want to do. So, coming back to myself, when I finished high school, I ended up going to 3 different colleges before I settled down. 3 different, all of them very good schools. I ended up getting my degree at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And you know that school? UIC? Great school downtown. Great school downtown. But even as I went through college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to be. My father was a lawyer by then. He represented injured workers. Anybody know what that's about? So you get a job, and you get injured on the job. It's called workers' compensation. That's what he had become, a workers' compensation lawyer. He believed in really helping injured workers. But I still didn't know what I wanted. And then law gave me the path. Law got me focused. And that's what I want to encourage you to do, is find your focus point. Find what gets you motivated. get your motor running, will get you up in the morning, get you moving. You may not know what that is now. Like my son who took himself to New York, he got moved a lot faster than me. I always laugh when I talk to him. I say, you were much more of a motivated person than I am. You got to find that motivation. And law has been everything to me, along with my beautiful wife for now 42 years. But law has been everything to me. It has given me all my options. I was lucky. I got out of law school and I went to work for one of the largest law firms in the world. 1,500 lawyers, offices all over the world, and I practiced there for over 20 years. Met people from all over the world. But you know what gave me one of my greatest joy while I was practicing law? Was doing public service. How many of you do any public service now? Volunteer to do things, whatever it is. Let me see some hands. Nobody doing any public service? Volunteering at the pantry, things of those nature. There you go. And don't you get a lot of joy out of volunteering? I mean, almost more joy than you get out of making money. Don't laugh at that one. But my point to you is, while I was practicing law and building my life as an attorney and my family life, I got involved in public service. My parents always believed in that. And I hope that you will take up the mantle for your generation when the opportunity arises. I was on a school board for 5 years out here in Park Forest and Chicago Heights. You know those communities, so you come from those communities. And then later on, Judge Fairman made reference to me, my name being on the building. But I had the joy of working as the mayor of Olympia Fields for 13 years and helping all the folks in that community, working with the leaders of your school district on issues that affected our various communities. And I found that to be one of the most joyful and rewarding experiences of my life. So I encourage you, in addition to trying to figure out what gets you going and how you're going to move forward in life by getting your finishing your high school and getting your college education, and then moving on to whatever area you want to go into, you've got to find that motivation. But while you're doing these things, I encourage you to engage in public service, give back to your communities. Now, as a lawyer, I was an employment lawyer, so I dealt with issues related to employment. So if you're employed in a business and something happened between you and the employer, that's when they call me. And as a judge, I've been a judge now 12 years, I handle criminal matters. I don't want to see any of you in my courtroom except coming to visit Judge Fairman. But in my room, I set the terms of release or detention of people that are charged with very serious crimes, murder, and others very serious crimes. So what I'd like you to take away from my comments here this morning is find your North Star. Find what gets you going in the morning and try to find that as early as you want. And one of the best ways to figure that out is to do what Judge Camille said, is to read and to gather information, to see what gets you really motivated. So I encourage you. I think that we have some of the best students in the nation, in the South Suburbs. I'm a big fan of the South Suburbs. I'm a big promoter of the South Suburbs. And I wish you all well as you continue in your high school career. Thank you. Let me now invite Judge Alvin Walker to come forward. All right, everybody stand up. All right, so what you guys have just done is generally what happens when all of you folks walk into a room. Everybody has to stand up. All right? Just a matter of respect. Sit down. So, my name is Judge Alvin Walker. I'm a judge in the Haley Center downtown. I'm in the Chancery Division of the Haley Center. I deal with cases where people are not asking for monetary remedy or money.
they're asking for some sort of equitable relief. And I've been a judge now for about 10 years. However, before I was a judge, as with all of these folks sitting here, I was a lawyer. And being a lawyer was the only thing that I ever wanted to do, other than be a cowboy. So when I was about 7 years old and I found out my dad could put a ranch in the backyard, I decided maybe I ought to be a lawyer from watching Perry Mason. And so everything I did from that point on was focused on being a lawyer. I was kind of unusual because I knew at a very early age what I wanted to do, so I focused on it. So when I went to school, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer, so I tried to stay away from getting into too much trouble. When I went to high school, I hung out with all the smart kids, right? How many of you hang out with all the smart kids? Nobody? Oh, that's because y'all are all the smart kids. I do. Yeah. So I hung out with all the smart kids because I figured that would help, just by peer pressure. So, you know, I didn't want to be hanging out in the lunchroom with the smart kids and we were all talking about what kind of grades you got. And they're like, well, I got an A, I got a B+, I got an A++, and they'd be like, Walker, what'd you get? I got a B. Yeah, that's not cool. So I hung out with the smart people because when all the other folks who are not doing as well or outside playing and carrying on, smart people were at home studying. And so since most of my friends were smart people, I couldn't hang out with anybody because they were all at home studying. From there, I went to DePaul University, DePaul University, and I studied marketing. So I was a marketing major. I could have studied anything and gone to law school, but I figured if I don't get into law school, I'm going to need a job. And so I figured I'd go into marketing. Why? Well, I thought marketing was a lot like being a lawyer. Because in marketing, you're trying to convince people to buy your product, right? And as a lawyer, you're trying to convince people what? To buy your story. My client is innocent because that person injured my client because. So I figured if I don't go to law school, if by some off chance I don't get into law school, at least I'll have a career doing what I enjoy, convincing people. Because when I was younger, I would always argue with my parents and anybody else, so I figured being a lawyer is kind of a natural sort of thing. So I went to law school, went to DePaul Law School as well. Graduated from law school and started practicing law. Throughout the majority of my career, I worked for African-American law firms. So all the folks that I worked for in my firm looked like me. And as a consequence of that, I got to do a lot of things. My legal career included doing transactional work, which included things like bond work and contracts and corporate stuff. I did a bond deal with Judge Jones when he was the mayor of Olympia Fields. I also did litigation, so I was also in court trying cases. I tried cases in federal court and civil court. I did everything but criminal and intellectual property and divorce. So I defended police officers. That was all. I represented the CTA. I represented the park district. I represented hospitals and doctors and medical malpractice cases. I've done all kinds of things throughout my legal career, which I found to be extraordinarily fun, and I enjoyed it immensely all of my career. Every day that I went to work, I had fun. Because being a lawyer was the only thing I ever wanted to do. So, how did I become a judge? Well, one day, my youngest son graduated from high school, and we asked him what he wanted to do next. And he said, well, I'm going to go to the University of Illinois. I said, that's great. I said, what are you going to do after that? He says, well, I'm going to go to law school, and I'm going to become a judge. I was like, whoa, that's interesting, because I remember when I was in law school, I wanted to be a judge because I saw, by reading the cases, the impact that judges have on people's lives. And so I thought maybe that's something I wanted to do, and I decided that's what I was going to do. But so I sort of forgot about being a judge until my son mentioned it. And then I started having these nightmares that we're all sitting in a restaurant, son, me, my wife, and my other kids, and somebody walks up and says, "Hey, Judge Walker, how you doing?" And they're talking to that knucklehead instead of me. So at that point, I realized that I needed to get on with it. And I worked hard, and eventually I became a judge. Since I've been a judge, I've sat in traffic court, I've sat in mortgage foreclosure, I've sat in the law division where we hear motions and deal with cases in which people are actually asking for lots of money. And I also am now, as I said earlier, sitting in the chancery. Here's the one thing that I want to leave you with in case you guys have missed it, because it's been repeated over and over. It doesn't really matter where you are right now. It all depends on what you want and how badly you want it. Whatever it is that you want to do with your life that's positive, you can do. You simply have to be about the business of doing it. Denzel Washington says, we have to do the things we don't want to do now so that we can do the things we want to do later. That's the secret to it. You just have to focus, and you just have to want it. Yes, there are going to be people who are going to tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that, ignore them. Do it anyway. There are going to be people who tell you, you're not smart enough to do this, you're not smart enough to do that. Ignore them. Do it anyway. All of these folks that are sitting up here have overcome obstacles. It wasn't easy for any of us. Even though I knew what I wanted to be all my life, it was not easy. There were all kinds of obstacles that we had to overcome. The same is true with you. We all come from different backgrounds, but so do you. There is nothing that we have done that you cannot do and do it better. Now, we've worked our way through the trial court, and now we're going to come to the appellate court, and next we will have Justice Cynthia Thomas.
Thank you, Judge Walker, and good morning, everyone. It's good to be here with you to represent the appellate court, since we have members of the judiciary from our circuit court and from our highest court, the Supreme Court, and our public defender. It's a joy and a delight for me to be here. Not too many years ago, I lived just down the street on Franklin Drive. And so being in the Southland, and in particular being in Richmond Park, is like coming home to me. I probably know some of the parents, some of the aunties and uncles, and it's good to be here with you to see the next generation of Rich Township high schools getting ready to launch careers. Everything you heard from my colleagues this morning is true. We've been given an assignment. We were told to encourage you in certain ways, and then we were told that we should talk to you about our journeys to the bench. And so you've heard a lot, really, of everything that I might even consider saying to you. But to be faithful to the program planners, and because I don't want Judge Walker to fuss at me, I'm actually going to follow the instructions and to do exactly what Judge Walker said that I'm supposed to do. But I'm going to start in a little bit of a reverse order. Instead of telling you how I got to the bench, I want to talk to you about some things that you should have first and foremost to get to the bench, or wherever it is that you're planning to go in the future. Education is key. I come from a very, very large family, not here in the state of Illinois. I am the 8th born child of a Baptist pastor. My mom stayed at home and she raised all 9 of her children. Law was not even a thought. Unlike Judge Walker, I had no clue about what I wanted to do when I graduated high school. And when I graduated high school, because I'm way older than a lot of them and you, there weren't very many career choices that were made available to African American children. I hope my story is not like yours. I took all the college preparatory classes to be able to go to college. Unfortunately, when I visited with my white guidance counselor, it did not matter that I had taken those courses. It did not matter that I had done well in those courses. My counselor said to me, you need to find a vocation. You're not scholarship material. You're not college material. Well, being the mama and daddy that I had, they were not having it, and education to them was the key. And so we ignored all that. Just like Judge Walker said you should do, if somebody puts a barrier in front of you, ignore it and do it anyway. I did it anyway. I didn't go to Howard, but I went to Morgan State, which is another historically black college in the state of Maryland. And because law wasn't even a thought, an idea, or even a career choice that was made available to African American children at the time, I chose to be a social worker. Not because it was the only career, but it was also a career that I wanted to be involved in. And as a social worker, I got a bachelor's degree in social science and a master's degree in clinical social work. That helped me be able to work with families who had children who were abused and neglected. Well, what happened next? Opportunity. I hadn't planned on it, but because I was practicing social work and representing children who were abused and neglected, I ended up going to court quite a lot, talking to judges about why a child needed to be protected by the court system. What happened in talking to those judges wasn't always pleasant. Many of them would say to me, well, Ms. Moore at the time, this person doesn't look like a child abuser to me. What has he or she done? This child may be fabricating this story. They could be making this up. Well, Your Honor, at 3 years of age, I don't really think that this child can talk to you about sexual conduct. So, after beating my head against the wall for several years as a social worker, I decided, I'd approach this a different way. Career choices were again made available. I went to law school, but not in Maryland, here in Illinois. I went to law school, got the law degree, and had intended really to go back to my field and work with children and families. Twist and turn opportunity. Ended up working for what is the Illinois Appellate Court in the research division, and was tapped by Justice Freeman, my mentor, to come and court for him. Not anything that I had thought about doing, not anything that I even thought I could do, but Justice Freeman saw it and thought that I could, and so I did. My words to you, be open to opportunity. No matter where life's journey takes you, be open to it. Every experience you have should be perceived and used as a tool for growth, as a tool for development. You never know where life is going to take you. There's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, there's going to be things that you didn't plan for. Be open to it, embrace it, capture it, take from it everything that you can learn, and use it to continue on your journey. Always be willing to move forward and to take advantage of everything that has been placed before you. Sometimes we're tempted to see a bad experience as a setback or a put down. Use the experience, learn from it, do something with it. Everything you need is within you. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't. Don't let anybody tell you you shouldn't. What's in your head? What do you dream? What do you perceive? How do you see it? Go for that. Reach for that. Don't be limited, and don't limit your dreams by what someone else may have dreamed or fashioned for you. It's available. I'm a judge now because someone saw in me the opportunity to be a judge. Hadn't thought about it. Didn't think I could be a judge. However, in 2011, I was appointed to the Circuit Court of Cook County. And like Judge Walker and some of my colleagues, I also sat in traffic court. I saw a lot of people who were just like me and you, black and brown. Okay, it was great to be in the traffic court and for those people to see people who looked just like me and you. Why? Because they felt some confidence that justice would be served because they saw folks who looked like them. So I served in the circuit court. I served in traffic court. I served in eviction court. I even saw pro se litigants. Some might say sitting in pro se court was like being the next Judge Judy. But in pro se court, where people come in and they represent themselves, you really get to hear the stories of everyday people and disputes and to help them work it out. And so in a way, I got to do social work even from the bench because I was able to still problem solve, help people resolve their issues. After some time sitting in the circuit court, I was then offered the opportunity to serve on the appellate court, the court on which I serve now. And as Judge Walker said, excuse me, when you serve in the circuit court, you may win or lose. If you lose in the circuit court, you have some opportunity to appeal that loss. That appeal comes to what is the intermediate court in our system, the Illinois Appellate Court. And what you're going to hear from our next speaker is when you lose in the appellate court, you have some opportunity to ask the justices on the Illinois Supreme Court if they will hear your case. They may, and they may not. But you'll hear more about that from Supreme Court Justice P. Scott Neville. But my single message to you today is don't be discouraged. Educate, plan, take advantage of every opportunity, and then keep moving forward. You can, it's in you, believe in yourself. I believe in you. All the best to all of you, all the time. And now, Supreme Court Justice P. Scott Neville.
Good morning. So good to be here. You know, only in America could a black man who grew up on 43rd Street. You know where 43rd Street is? 43rd Street is in Bronzeville. You know, some people call it the Black Belt. Some people call it the ghetto. But I call it home. It's an amazing thing. And that's why I stopped by here today to tell you that you can be black and poor and go all the way from 43rd Street to LaSalle Street. As Justice Cobbs indicated, I sit on the Illinois Supreme Court. You can see my history right there on the screen. In October of 1999, I was appointed by the Supreme Court to the Circuit Court of Cook County. Black man from 43rd Street. Went to DuSauville High School in Bronzeville. Segregated school. It's all black school. I only recall 2 or 3 white students in the entire school. Even in an all-black segregated school, you can produce a person who can go all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court. After serving on the circuit court for about 3 years, I was elevated to the Illinois Appellate Court. Served on that appellate court for about 14 years. I enjoyed my service on the appellate court. I was the first African-American man to ever clerk for an Illinois appellate court justice. I wasn't like Judge Willis. I didn't get to go to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. One of the most important cases I ever had was authored by Judge Fairchild. To this day, I still don't understand how I lost that case. But that's another matter. But after serving on the appellate court for 14 years, the Supreme Court, I always like to say in its wisdom, appointed me to the Illinois Supreme Court. What you need to know is, it took 172 years to get a black man on the Illinois Supreme Court. The state of Illinois was founded in 1818. Not until 1990 was a black person elected to the Illinois Supreme Court. When he retired in 2018, I was elevated to the Supreme Court, and in 2020, your parents elected me to the Illinois Supreme Court. You know, they have told you our history. Black, poor. I always like to tell people I grew up on the rough side of the mountain. But there's some value, ladies and gentlemen, in being poor. A lawyer once told me that the best steel has been through the hottest fire. I'm going to repeat that. The best steel has been through the hottest fire. Running for the Illinois Supreme Court was a real test. I had 6 opponents. 4 of them were Illinois Appellate Court justices. But I didn't let that challenge frighten me. I didn't step back. You know, if you've heard about that story about the tortoise and the hare, you know why the tortoise was successful? Because he took 1 step and just kept on stepping. I have never stepped back. I have never backed down from the challenge. I heard Judge Fairman say that he's a good basketball player and he used to play for lunch. I used to play too when I was in high school. You know, I was shocked to hear Judge Willis say when she graduated from high school, I didn't realize I was over 10 years older than she is. I'm probably the oldest person in the room. But I have a motto, ladies and gentlemen, and that is I can't give in, give up, or give out. Struggle continues. You know, they've talked to you about going from traffic court to working with pro ses, and you know, I'm going to say publicly, we couldn't get along without these judges, and we couldn't get along without the public defender's office. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you know it, but we're getting ready to set up a statewide public defender system. Because downstate, the quality of justice is not what it should be. You know, I prepared a speech, and I was going to talk about Law Day. You know, Law Day was started in 1958 by President Eisenhower. And he started Law Day because when he was traveling through Europe, in Germany and Russia, he could see that there was no rule of law. And the purpose we celebrate Law Day is to reinforce the fact that we are a country of laws, not a country of men. You know, you have a country of laws when you have the right to vote. A country of men is when you have an autocracy. And people don't make the decisions, the men or the autocrat makes the decision. Voting is important, ladies and gentlemen. Voting is particularly important in the state of Illinois. It's important because if not for voting, I wouldn't be on the Illinois Supreme Court. You don't want to lose your right to vote. It's a very important right. You know, since only 2 men, black men, and I expect a black woman will get to the Supreme Court soon, ladies. You might wonder what life is like on the Illinois Supreme Court. Let me just give you a brief snapshot of how my days work. When you're on the Illinois Supreme Court, the court thinks that it's important to protect the 7 people who sit on the court. There are about 875 circuit court judges. You've heard from the circuit court judges. There are about 56 appellate court justices. That's where Justice Cobb sits. There's 7 Supreme Court justices. The state thinks it's important to provide us with protection. So every morning when I get up, a marshal comes and picks me up, takes me to work. I have security in this building right now because the state of Illinois thinks I'm important and they want to protect me. Now, I'll be very honest with you. I could ride the red line or the green line or Metro because that's what I did all my life. But the state thinks it's important. So all of you should aspire to have somebody come and pick you up in the morning, take you to work. When I get ready to go someplace, I get in the car and he takes me. When I get ready to go home, he takes me home. The court, the Supreme Court, is in session 5 times a year. In January, in March, in May, in September, and in November. We're getting ready to hold our May term. On Sunday, I will drive to Springfield, and I'll be there for a couple of weeks. He'll drive me down. If there's anywhere I want to go in Springfield, he'll take me. We'll swear in the new lawyers. That's another thing a Supreme Court justice gets to do. We get to swear in the new lawyers. My signature appears on every license. A couple of the judges have been talking about playing basketball. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you. I thought I was a great basketball player too. But I retired after my first college game. Only played 1 game. And I retired because I realized, as skillful as I thought I was, that there were people who were better. And I had to ask myself the question, where is it most likely that I could be successful? In the NBA or becoming a lawyer? Here's how I resolved the question. How many teams are there? About 30. Each team has a roster, maximum, 15 people. What's that? About 450 people? Whatever it is. But I knew if I became a lawyer, the state of Illinois issues an unlimited number of licenses. If you have a choice between trying to be in that 450 or 500 and joining a profession where there's no limit on the number of licenses, what do? Did I make the right decision? Because not only did I become a lawyer, but I got all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court. And that's why we're all here. You know, all the lawyers who are sitting behind, or judges who are sitting behind me, and even the lawyers, have the potential to go to the circuit court, the appellate court, and possibly the Supreme Court. I'm not going to be there forever. There will come a time when, like Justice Freeman before me, I'm going to have to give up this seat. I'm out here to tell the people sitting in this room, you don't look any different from me. You're as smart as we are. You will have the same opportunity. You know, to be very honest with you, there may be people who are smarter, but nobody can outwork them. As potential voters, you might want to know, what have I been doing since I've been on the Illinois Supreme Court? This is what I can tell you. I have written more dissenting opinions in criminal cases than majority opinions. Thurgood Marshall is often called the great dissenter. I think on the Illinois Supreme Court, when I retire, they're going to call me the great dissenter. It should not be surprising that a person who grew up on 43rd Street sees things differently from somebody who grew up at Gwinnett. Does that make sense? Sees things from people who live in Springfield. Sees things differently from people who live in Southern Illinois. But I get to interpret the Constitution just like the other people that I work with. When I was on the Illinois Appellate Court, I was reversed more than any other judge. I moved to the Supreme Court, I'm still writing the same decisions, but they're not reversing me. We just respectfully disagree. Respectfully. You know, I'll begin the speech as end it as I began. Only in America. You have the opportunity to be whatever you want to be. Positions are opening up every day. You're the next city council people. There's a judge sitting behind me who's the mayor. You're the next mayor of Olympia Fields or Chicago. You're the next state members of the state legislature. Right now, we have a black Speaker of the House. You're the next governor. You know, only in America could a black man become president of the United States. I know Barack Obama. Chicago has always, or Illinois, Cook County has always been part of the vanguard. You know, Barack Obama was not from Chicago, from Illinois. He was from Hawaii. But he came to Chicago. Why? Because it's the launching pad for a lot of political things. First black woman to become a United States Senator after Reconstruction, Carol Moseley Brown. Second black person to become a United States Senator, although Senator Brooke in Massachusetts, Barack Obama. Barack Obama, first black man to become president of the United States, only in America. Look at the state of Illinois in terms of the 6 constitutional laws. Lieutenant Governor, black woman. Attorney General, black man. Secretary of State, black man. Comptroller, Latino woman. Illinois is the state of opportunity. State legislature, Speaker of the House, black man. Illinois Supreme Court, P. Scott DeVille, 1 of 7. Ladies and gentlemen, a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, some students from Rich High School came to Springfield. I had the honor and pleasure of hosting them. Took them on a tour of the Illinois Supreme Court. Let them sit in the seats. Took them up to my suite. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I took them to lunch. Now, I want you to listen to this. I did not take them to McDonald's. We had a sit-down lunch at a restaurant. Now, I came out here today looking for those women. There was only one man, gentlemen, and I was told they had graduated. I hope they will come and see me. I understand I'm going to go into a classroom, and I certainly want to take the opportunity to meet you. As Judge Walker said, my mentor said, you can't be what you can't see. I wanted the students at Township High School to see that in America you can be black and poor and become a justice on the Illinois Supreme Court. You know, that's only in America. Only in America can you become black and be black and make it become president of the United States. How hard do you want to work? You know, I work late at night. I work on Saturday. I work on Sunday. But that's what you have to do. You know, I have certainly enjoyed being here today. I've enjoyed hearing what the judges had to say. Why don't you give them a round of applause? Now, you know I'd be disrespectful if I didn't say also give a round of applause to the public. Because you did it. Now, I noticed Judge Willis pointed out that she didn't have on a robe. Well, as you notice, I don't have on a robe. But I didn't get the memo that we were wearing robes. Now, Judge Walker is a circuit court judge. He didn't call me and say, Judge, this is what I want you to do. He just called me and said, Judge, I'd like you to come out. I did not get any message on what I was supposed to say. Because do you really tell Supreme Court justices what they're supposed to do? Do you really do that? I know that this is the house of the teacher, but they exercised a little good judgment and just said, Judge, just come. Well, I'm here, and I'd certainly like to meet all of you. I certainly wish all of you well. Remember, I'm going to remind you now, my seat is going to open up. You know, who's going to fill it? You know, it's possible that the next Supreme Court justice is sitting in this room. But I guess in order to find out if that's possible, is that who wants to be a lawyer in this room? Not one hand. Did we do our job? Wait a second. I'm going to ask again. How many people want to be a lawyer? All right. How many people want to be a judge? Before we leave, I want to see each of you. Listen, it's been my pleasure. I don't think I introduced anybody else, right? Well, thank you for having us. We have enjoyed it.
At this time, we're going to open it up. Let's give Justice Miguel a round of applause. We're going to open it up for questions. Do you guys have any questions for the judges and justices? We're bringing a mic to you, sweetie.
Please stand up, tell us who you are, what year in school you are, and ask your questions.
My name is Antoine. I'm a sophomore. And how much is your salary?
What's the question?
How much is your salary?
Here, the answer to your question for judges is more than some and less than others.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're just not quite finished yet, so if you would be polite, let's ask a few questions here and sit tight until we dismiss.
My name is Sierra. I'm a junior at the STEM campus. I want to ask, have you ever worked with the FBI?
What's the question?
Have you ever worked with the FBI? Yeah.
Have you worked with the FBI?
Generally speaking, circuit court judges would not work with the FBI. Typically, they would go to federal judges for purposes of their warrants. That's why police officers come to see judges. If they're not testifying in court, they're coming to get search warrants to go search a building or search a cell phone or the location of a cell phone. I see that all day in my room. But typically, a federal agent would be going to a federal judge for that kind of assistance.
Thank you. Next question?
Can you tell the judges who you are?
I'm an IU person. I wanted to ask, like, have y'all practiced in different states, and was it hard? She said, have you practiced in different states? And was it hard?
I had a practice in Illinois and Indiana. In fact, we have the largest minority law firm in the state of Indiana and Illinois with about 30 attorneys to work for. So answer to that, yes, it's hard. I think if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. I would answer, I think you can do it. From somebody who indicated I had straight C's through high school, if I was able to get a C, you can do it. If you want to do it, you can. Don't let anybody tell you you can't.
My name is Anaje, and I'm a sophomore. And my question is, would you transfer to different courtrooms or different cases or no?
Do you serve in different courtrooms as the cases change back and forth?
Yes and no. During a judge's career, they are likely to be assigned to different divisions within the court system. So you might go from criminal law to the civil side. Within the criminal side, you might work on felonies or misdemeanors or crimes and whatnot. In the civil side, you can go from the law division to the municipal division to the chancery division. Every judge starts out in traffic court, so over the course of your career, it's likely that a judge will serve in a different division, and then in those respective divisions, you'll hear different kinds of cases.
I worked at the Market Courthouse. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Market Courthouse. It serves this area here. And during my tenure at the Market Courthouse, I did some of everything. I did civil, I did felonies, which are criminals that go to the Illinois Department of Corrections for over a year. I also did misdemeanors, sentenced up to a year. I did paternity cases, child support cases. I did everything that you couldn't do as a judge at the Market Courthouse, because it's a full-service courthouse. How many of you are familiar with the Market Courthouse? Now, if you are not familiar with it and you would like a tour of it, let me know. I will arrange a tour for you to come and visit the Market Courthouse and have an opportunity to observe different types of cases. I don't know if that question was meant for me too, but I have practiced from everything from child protection to traffic to misdemeanors to felonies, and now I do mostly homicides. So,
Hi, my name is Andre. I'm a senior. I just wanted to know what was the downside for judges and justices, like when it comes to mental health, because I know how hard the cases can be sometimes.
being a judge can be difficult because you have to listen to the facts, you have to sit on the bench, you have to listen to the witnesses and all the evidence that's presented. And being a judge, a lot of times you may be doing different things in the same day. There may be a courtroom where the judge is sick, and so you may be rotating into the judge's courtroom to do the judge's case, the other judge's courtroom as well as yours. Or you may be doing a jury, and you may be at work till 9, 10 o'clock at night. I was a single parent. My daughter grew up in a courthouse. She
does not want anything to do with law, but many a day she will be eating dinner there.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
My name is Renee, and I was just wondering, basically, how long does it take to study for your bar exam, and what is the score that you need to take?
How long does it take for what, sweetie?
To study for your bar exam,
For the bar.
and what is the score you need to pass?
And what is the what?
Score you need to pass.
Okay, they handed it to me because I'm the youngest, but that was over 20 years ago for me. How long, you're studying all during law school for the bar exam. At the time when you are getting ready to graduate and you are preparing, they do have prep classes that you can take. I don't even remember the scores for the bar. Actually, you know what? With the bar exam, you don't get a score to pass. You just pass, or you don't. But the bar exam is a 2-day, I think it's still a 2-day exam. Back in the day, I think the first day was multiple choice, and then it was essay. But yeah, there's prep classes and things like that to help you prepare and to help you with the writing portion. So, but I don't think that there's actually a score for the bar exam. Do you mean the LSAT exam, the law school admission test? Okay, there's no score for the bar exam. They just need to tell you pass or fail.
Ms. Hall?
Ms. Hall, I just wanted to say thank you all for taking the time out of your day to be here for our students today. My question is for actually Justice Neville. For the students, how does the Illinois Supreme Court compare to the United States Supreme Court?
Well, the most obvious difference is there are 9 members on the United States Supreme Court. There are only 7 members on the Illinois Supreme Court. I don't really know about their customs and practices, but I assume that they have some that are similar to ours. For example, we always sit in the same place. We have an impression conference room. You always sit based on your seniority. When I joined the court 4 years ago, I was number 7. I didn't tell you this, but I have my own personal license plate. It says Supreme Court 7. Okay, as the 7th justice, there's a place for me to sit at the table, and as the 7th justice, I always go into the courtroom last. When the court is filing in, you're always the last person to exit. Now I'm the 4th justice on the Supreme Court. In terms of seniority, so I have a different place to sit. If there's another retirement, my seat will move. I would suppose they move like that. Now, one thing I've learned about the Supreme Court, I'm not sure, the Chief Justice, if he's on the side that has the most votes, he gets to assign the case. If he's not on that side, and I understand with this abortion decision, Clarence Thomas is senior, he made the decision about who was going to author the opinion. On the Illinois Supreme Court, the Chief Justice assigns all the cases. Now, we have a system, but the Chief Justice has discretion as to who is assigned to write a particular opinion. Now, I don't know what happens at the Supreme Court. If you're assigned to author a case and you don't have enough votes, well then, the court has a custom and practice where another person is selected to assign. So, there's some things I know. One last thing. When you're judge number 7, if anybody enters the impression conference room, the 7th justice has to get up and open the door. That's one of your duties or responsibilities. You get up and you open the door. The 6th justice on the Illinois Supreme Court, they keep time. That is, if the court takes a recess, When we go back, the sixth justice is supposed to tell the court when that 10-minute period is up or that 15-minute period is up. Not only, ladies and gentlemen, do we sit in a certain order when we're in the impression conference room, when we eat meals, we have assigned seats. And I didn't get into this. We live over the courtroom. We live in the Supreme Court building. Really, we do. My marshal has quarters in the Supreme Court building as well. So we are very well protected. You have to come and visit. You'll have to come. So those are some of the things that I know about. I can, of course, tell you how the Illinois Supreme Court functions. Of course, I can't give you all of our secrets, but that's basically how it functions.
I was
You want to pull your mask out so I can hear you?
I want to ask, what was the case that made you lay in bed and rethink it?
What was the case that made me?
What was the case that was on your mind that had you mentally challenged? Or kept it on your mind for
Oh. Out of respect to all the litigants who come before the Supreme Court, they all are on to keep me awake tonight. What I'm saying is they're all important. You know, every case is important. Every litigant is important. You know, I try to be respectful of all cases. You know, something that you probably don't know, but it's something that concerns the Illinois Supreme Court. Over 60% of all litigants in civil cases are self-represented litigants. Those are litigants who don't have a lawyer. I am personally concerned about that because a lot of those people are black and brown and they're poor. And I personally don't feel that it's worthwhile to go to court if you don't have a lawyer. You know, you need a lawyer when you go to court. The court has this program, they call it Access to Justice, where they have written forms in the languages of people who don't speak English. What good does it do you to have a form that's in a language you can understand if you go to court and you're there by yourself? What do they say about a person who represents himself? Is that what they say? Okay. Did you hear what she said? She said a person who represents himself has a fool for a client. So what I am attempting to do, I've been working on it for 4 years. I've been trying to convince my colleagues on the Supreme Court that they should give lawyers CLE, that's continuing legal education credit for representing a self-represented litigant. I think that's only fair. I don't think you should go to court and you're not represented. You have a question for one of the other judges? Pardon? Okay.
You ever had a case where it was death or life, like a death sentence or custody of somebody? Like, if you ever had it was or life, to the point where it was jail or death. Yeah.
Okay, so the death penalty in Illinois is no longer a sentence. But I'm quite sure some of the justices may have had that. I have had cases where someone has been looking at life. I have them now. But there are many charges based on how sentencing works that someone could be looking at spending the rest of their life in custody, in jail. So I have had those. They're not always homicides. Sometimes they are sex cases. Sometimes they are just other class X's, because also a person's background can sometimes dictate that as well. But Next question, please.
Okay, my name is Kahari Thomas, and I'm a senior. My question is, can you explain the purpose of Black people being on jury duty?
You said the purpose of people being on jury duty?
Black people. Explain the importance of Black people being on jury duty.
Yes. Yes, I can. It's because, as some of the judges and justices have pointed out, sadly, we have a lot of Black and brown people who are in that defendant's chair. And as an attorney, when I am doing jury selection, I need for that jury to buy what I'm saying, to understand what I'm saying. And sometimes when we have people who don't look like my clients, they don't always understand the complexities of their life, the different cultural things that somebody of their race or culture would understand. And so that's why it's important for my clients to see people on that, because here's the thing, the defendant in a criminal case is the one who gets to ask for a jury. If the defendant doesn't want a jury, it doesn't happen. So that's their trial, that's their jury, that's their day in court. So when people of color are on trial, they need to see people of color who are going to be deciding whether or not they are guilty or not guilty. And I need those people because I need them to understand, why does a client run from the police? People may not understand that, but somebody of a certain culture would understand. They run all the time. That's not unique. They're scared. But I need people to understand that on the jury. So young people, register to vote. That's how you become a member of, that's how you become eligible for jury duty. We need people of color to understand that the defendant sitting next to me, what they've gone through and how they think. So yes, please do not try to wiggle your way out of jury duty. If you're complaining about the system, then stop trying to get out of being a part of it. That is next to the armed forces. That is the most important way you can serve this country is jury.
Let me say this, she's absolutely right. One of the big things I've been fighting with the Illinois Supreme Court about is people being excused from the jury, you see. Another thing that I've been fighting about with the Supreme Court about is it important to explain to people what proof beyond a reasonable doubt means? Does everybody know what that means? So when I tell you I've been dissenting, I haven't been just dissenting because I want to be disagreeable. That I get up on the wrong side of the bed in the morning, and I just don't like the way things are going. But we are having some substantive disagreements about how this system is supposed to work. I'm talking about improving the system. That's how I see it. I think that there's some changes that can be made that'll make the system fair. I'm a real believer in that provision, equal justice for all. So what she's talking about is important. I can't emphasize it enough. I can remember when I was a trial judge, I was selecting a jury, and a man told me he didn't have time to serve. So I asked him if he realized how many lives have been lost and how much blood has been shed so that people can vote and can serve on juries. She's right. It's a responsibility of citizenship. In a lot of countries, you can't serve on it. You better protect that right. Jury service is important, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be real important if you're a litigant. See, I'm so glad that she's here. If I were preaching, I'd ask her to say amen, but I won't.
This is my last question. How do y'all feel safe putting somebody in jail and then go home? Y'all don't feel like y'all don't feel bothered or want to move or anything? Because people get crazy and stuff. That's my problem, and I don't kind of sort of want to do it. Like, what if I do something that they didn't like and they send people for me? How do y'all feel safe doing it?
Well, so there's this fundamental thing that says that you're innocent until proven guilty. It's part of our Constitution. And so, since I'm not a criminal, I'm not a criminal judge, but I observe things. And as I observe society, I find that what happens most that's antithetical to our Constitution is simply because you are arrested, there is a presumption that you are guilty. The idea of bond and allowing people to go home once they've been arrested is because you're innocent until proven guilty. If we arrest people and just lock them up in perpetuity before they have a trial, then they're guilty until proven innocent. When you see folks get arrested on TV, the presumption is that they committed the crime. And so we all naturally think, well, they ought to be in jail for the rest of their lives because they've been arrested. Lots of people get arrested who've done absolutely nothing. I once worked on a case where a young man had been arrested for a rape, was convicted, went to jail for 20 years, and after 20 years, he had served his sentence, and after 20 years, DNA showed that he had not committed the rape. Again, I'm not in criminal court, so I don't personally know how it feels to have somebody locked up for a long period of time. Judge Jones or Judge Fairman or Judge Willis can address that from a personal perspective, but from a constitutional perspective, we're all innocent until proven guilty. And even if the news connotes something different. So I'll pass the mic.
Criminal cases are very hard, either for the jury or for the judge. And you have to understand that, they have to be proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. The purpose of bond is not to say you're guilty or you're innocent. All it is to ensure that you will come back to court to have your case resolved. So it's a surety to say, okay, if your bond is $1,000 and you put up $1,000, you're going to be back, come back to court so this case can be resolved. So you have to weigh what is the charge, what is the defendant's history of coming to court, whether or not this person would be a danger to society if they were released. So it's a lot of different factors you have to consider. But if you lock somebody up and they're subsequently found innocent, then you have destroyed that person's life. They've been sitting up in jail and they haven't done anything. And just like you just heard about the case where a defendant was subsequently found to be innocent of committing a rape, but that was 20 years later. Bond is a very controversial issue now because some people are repeat offenders. I wish judges had a crystal ball and we could look into it and see the future, but we can't. All we can do is go based upon the facts that we hear from both sides. And both sides are the public defender or the attorney representing the defendant and the state's attorney who's representing the state. Anyone else? I thought you were talking about bond. Get people out of it. Oh, wait. I'll tell you this one story. I'm in the store with my mother and my daughter, and a defendant comes up to me and says,
And Judge Willis, I'm so sorry I missed court.
I was like, hello? Leave me alone. Well, I just want to explain to you what happened. I said, look, come to court, turn yourself in, or you can go to jail right now. Those are your two choices. It was a minor case. He left me alone. When you live in the community in which you serve, the probability of you seeing someone that has appeared before you is high. So you just have to be alert and aware of your circumstances all the time. You know, probably put a nice security system on your house. I think the Illinois Judges Association just came out with the pamphlet. I haven't had a chance to read it, talking about being safe in plain sight, hiding in plain sight. So you just have to be aware of your circumstances and your surroundings. And me, of course, I always try to treat people with respect and to be nice to everyone. And that's all you can do. It is one of the problems related to the job.
One last thing, we're going to let you go. The Illinois Judicial Council has a judicial externship program. It runs in the summer from this year it's June 27th through August 8th. Anyone here who is interested in going to law school, or even if you're not interested in going to law school, but like the opportunity to work with the judge in chambers, this opportunity is available to you. Ms. Taylor will have all of the information. But what you need to have is a resume, a cover letter, a recommendation letter from a teacher or principal or counselor, and a consent from your guardian or your parent. Notice I didn't say that there was a grade requirement. So all you need to do to apply is let us know, talk to Ms. Taylor, she'll get you the information. Thank you.
You're going to have passes to go back to class. Before we let you go, we're going to have Dr. Copeland do the thank you. Your pass is going to take 10 o'clock, but you just head to class or head to lunch where you need to go, and your teachers will get an email, so don't worry.
As we conclude this morning, in addition to being able to appropriately thank our lawyers, our judges, and our justice who are here today, I'd just like to express my gratitude and appreciation for our students who stayed here with us through this whole thing, were attentive to this, and I'd just like for all of us to give each other a round of applause for your potential and your participation. As I listen today, here are some of the things that I heard that I think are encouraging for all of us, but especially for our students. Don't be discouraged. Read. Find your joy. Read. Serve your community. Read. Find your vocation. Read. Be excited. Read. Use setbacks to propel your future success. Read. Get involved with your mock trial team here at school. Read. Break down barriers by what? Reading. The best steel has been through the hottest fire. Read. You are next. Read. Illinois is a state of opportunity, and you are next in line. Read. Work to improve the system. Read. Register to vote so you can serve as a juror. Read. And never let a setback create a barrier, that you are in charge of your own destiny and your greatest potential. So students, those are the things that we heard today from our lawyers, judges, justices, who have shown us from where they came told us about their life stories and about what they are doing to impact the world around them. So I hope you felt as inspired as I was today. And so now it's your turn to just say thank you to all of our guests. And on behalf of our school board, our superintendent, Dr. Johnny Thomas, our principals, Mr. Barr and Ms. Wells, myself as assistant principal, I'd just like to thank our professionals who are serving in law. They came today to inspire all of us and to show everything to our students that they can aspire to. And at this time, I'd also like to say thank you to our teacher and our sponsor, Ms. Takima Taylor, who has put in so much, and her colleagues from each department. There's so many people involved, and I'd just like to say thank you to everyone. So for those of you who are invited to stay for lunch, that's happening in the auditorium lobby in just a few minutes, so we'd like to wrap up with that as well. Thank you again, everyone.